Hey, this is Math Minutes Pro. Today we're going to talk about how to solve problems involving powers and exponents. We're going to use a little vocabulary in this video. We're going to deal with powers and exponents, bases, and I think I'd like to deal with that first. So let's see. Let's clarify what constitutes or what makes a power, okay? And then I'll erase that later. So let's say I have something that says we have x raised to the y, okay? Now, this entire thing that you're looking for, this entire math expression, this whole thing right here, this is called a power. Okay? So take good notes. That's your power. Now this variable right here, that's called your base. Okay? And this variable right here is called your exponent. So in this case, we have a base raised to an exponent, and that is what makes the power a power. I've seen students refer to the whole thing as an exponent, and that's not true. So draw this, pause the video if you need to, and copy these notes and copy it correctly. This entire math expression expresses a value. It's called a power. You have the base x and the exponent y. All right, so let me go ahead and erase that. Remember, you can come back to this video. You can pause it, take the notes. Everything is good. Now, we're going to solve three particular problems, and I'd like to set the board up. I'm going to divide them into three areas right here, okay? And well, let's go ahead and start with, we're going to simplify we can refer to this as an exponential expression, or we're going to simplify this power, if you will, okay? So I'm going to call this A, and we're just going to simplify. Now, here we have an expression that says -2, and that's raised to the fourth power. In practice, speaking the way that I explained the problem, because that helps you in understanding your math problem. Now, what they're asking us to do is to rewrite this power, or simplify it, rather. And in rewriting it, we're going to simplify it, okay? So we have -2 raised to the fourth power. That equals, and you notice -2 is in parentheses. So we have -2. We're going to multiply that how many times? By itself. Right, 4 times. So that's -2 times -2 times -2. Okay. -2 to the fourth power means multiply -2 by itself 4 times. Now, there are different ways you can approach it. I like to take two of these numbers and multiply them together. -2, a negative times a negative is a positive, so -2 times -2 gives me a positive 4, okay? And then I have, again, here, -2 times -2, a negative times a negative is a positive, same thing. So that's going to be 4. So that's 4 times 4, okay? That simplifies, but we're not done yet. So I'm going to put my little caret here, which implies to multiply them and simplify. 4 times 4 gives us 16. And here we have it. Negative 2 raised to the 4th power is equal to 16. Now, we're going to do another problem, or solve another problem, and it will involve simplifying. So I'll call this B, and yes, we're going to simplify. All right. It will also be an exponential expression, or we have a power, and our goal is to simplify this. All right, so here we have negative, and then we have a fraction, 1 over 2. All right, and that is raised to the 4th power. Okay, now, remember, you see that negative right there? That negative means negative 1. So it's really negative 1 times 1/2. And the 1/2 is what's raised to the 4th power. Notice the negative is on the outside of parentheses. Here it was on the inside. So what we're really saying is take negative 1, or actually take 1/2, multiply it by itself 4 times, and then whatever number you get, multiply that number times negative 1. That's really what it means. So we're going to first just write this as negative 1. And then we have to multiply 1/2 by itself 4 times. Now, you can either do it that way, or I'm going to show you another way where we're going to, let's just go ahead and do it that way. So, for the sake of time. So we have 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2, and then times 1/2. All right. Another way to do it is using the rules for simplifying exponents, but we're not there yet. So I'm just going to use this particular strategy, which demonstrates our understanding of what it means to have an understanding of exponents. Okay, so this 4 tells you to multiply 1/2 by itself 4 times. All right, so let's go. Let's go ahead and bring down that negative 1 times. I'm not ready to deal with that right now. Now we're multiplying fractions, okay? So that means I'm going to set it up, okay? 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. When you multiply fractions, you multiply numerator times numerator over denominator times denominator. So 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 gives us 1. 2 times 2, that's 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. Okay, how are we looking? All right, looking pretty good. Now, I think we're ready to apply the negative 1. Now this reads negative 1 times 1 over 16. Okay, so then negative times a positive is a negative, so our final answer is negative 1 over 16. And circle our final answer. All right, so quick review of that. We took that negative, turned it into negative 1, and we expanded this, right? We changed this from exponential to expanded form. This is called expanded form of the power. This is an exponential expression, also known as a power, and we wrote it in expanded form, 1/2 multiplied by itself 4 times. And then we have negative 1 times 1 over 16, and there we have our final answer. Okay. Now, there are a couple of problems I think I want to cover, and it's not going to take a lot. They're very short. So let me divide this up. One more section. We get 4 problems in here. So I'm going to call this one power. And let's say you're given a problem that looks like this. It says you have 81, and then they tell you that the base is 9. All right, and they're asking you to, given this information here, 81 and the base is 9, write this as a power. Okay, now remember when we went over our basics. Remember we went over at the very beginning of the video, the basics, and we said that, let me put it over here, if you have x to the y, x is your base and y is your exponent, but the whole thing, that whole expression is your power, then we know in this case that we know our base. So our base is 9, right? Now we need to decide what exponent goes here. The exponent that goes here is what it it gives us direction. It's a set of instructions. It tells us to multiply this base that number of times to equal 81. So if I put 2 here, that exponent says multiply that base 2 times. 9 times 9 is 81, so there it is. This is the base that matches the criteria here, 81, and we have a base of 9. All right, let's do another one. Let's solve another problem. I think that hammers home the same type of problem. So give you practice one more time. Okay, and that's power. Now in this case, we have 36, right? And they tell us that the base is -6, okay? Don't worry about it, just set it up, okay? Now, if the base is -6, then we have to put that in parentheses. Right here, the base was -2. Now, what exponent goes here so that the answer equals 36? We know the exponent that went here was 4, so the answer was 16. So how many times do I need to multiply -6 by itself to get 36? That's what this is really saying. Right, it's 2. Why? Because a -6 times a -6, a negative times a negative is a positive, and that gives you 36. And that is your final answer. So thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Now don't forget to check out my Patreon page in my video description below. On my Patreon page, you can get access to exclusive math lessons, study tips, live Q&A, and more. See you next time.